Yo, welcome to Refiner Reviews, episode 12, y'all. And we're back. My name's Cameron Smith.
My name's Austin Smith, baby.
And we're going to review a little film called Pulp Fiction today. I hope you guys are ready because I got some pretty fucking serious opinions on this one that you're probably not going to like. But you know what? Fuck you. Welcome to the podcast. This is what we do here. We piss you off. Well, I piss you off.
He pisses you off.
So we're going to throw down. This podcast is brought to you by Refiner Reviews. We are a video and photo production company. We do everything from weddings to business commercials to podcasts. Hit us up and check us out online. Thanks for coming back, you guys. This one is going to be a fun one because everybody has really strong opinions on Pulp Fiction.
It's a masterpiece.
That's some of the opinions.
Best film ever made.
That's some of the opinions. But let's get into it. So, Oz, hit us with some of those fun facts.
Because
there's got to be some.
It's made for $8 million.
Wow, that's pretty cheap. How much did it make?
Well, originally it was going to be $5 million, but when they brought on Bruce Willis, it cost more to have him. So
it cost $3 million more to have Bruce Willis. Damn, Bruce.
He ain't cheap. Well, that was like the pinnacle of his career, wouldn't it be? Because like he had Die Hard.
I wouldn't say like, oh, you mean like, yeah, he was in his prime.
Like he was.
Well, I don't even know if he'd done The Sixth Sense yet. I think like we forget, dude. Like Bruce Willis is a good actor, man. He's a good actor. I mean, he has a lot of solid movies. Sometimes I forget how many good movies.
Well, that's why I wouldn't be surprised if he cost that much.
Oh, I'm sure. No, well, he's not cheap, dude. He's definitely not cheap. Yeah, there's a great cast in this movie. Let's just cover that. And you got Samuel L. Jackson. You got Bruce Willis.
He hadn't done The Sixth Sense yet.
I mean, he was still like he'd been.
No, he was
at that point.
He was blowing up, I think.
But you got Bruce Willis. You got Samuel. You got John Travolta. You got Vin Rames, who I always remember is the guy in Mission Impossible.
David's favorite, Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken's even in it, yeah. There's a lot of great actors, man. Uma Thurman. Who else? Who else is in this movie? There's a lot. There's a lot of really great actors, man. I mean, the cast is great. You couldn't ask for a better cast, for sure. So made for, you said, how much again? $7 million? $8 million. And it made, I think, like $146 million, didn't it?
And Ving Rhames, too.
Vin Rames, yeah.
Ving Rhames, you said him?
Yeah. He's the guy he's in all the Mission Impossibles.
Yeah.
He's the black guy in all the Mission Impossibles.
It's weird to see him playing a bad guy.
Yeah, I like him as an actor, man, but he's not in a lot of movies that I've seen.
Yeah, he's really good in this.
Yeah, he kills it as Marcellus Wallace. But yeah, so how much did it make?
It made $213 million.
Fuck, that's a successful film, dude. That's a fucking very successful film. That's crazy, man. That's a lot of money on your return. That's a lot of return on your investment there. So the movie was a success. Obviously, there's something about it that people fucking really dug. You know, I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, even comparing to some of these other movies that we've covered in the past, I mean, that's a big deal. Especially
a movie that has the F word in it 265 times.
It's my kind of movie, dog. So tell some other interesting facts. 200 and how many times?
256.
It's like listening to one of these podcasts.
Or 265, sorry.
Jesus.
This is kind of interesting. The shot of Vincent plunging the syringe into Mia's chest was filmed by having John Travolta pull the needle out, then running the film backwards. Watch carefully and you'll see a mark on Mia's chest disappear when she's revived.
Interesting.
I don't know why they would even do that.
I don't know. That's weird.
This is kind of interesting, too. In the opening sequence with Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, Jules can be heard talking about quitting the life, and Vincent can be seen entering the bathroom.
Well, yeah, that's what it leads up to, right?
Yeah, and then Quentin Tarantino was quoted as saying that Butch is responsible for keying Vincent's car. Which is,
interesting. Okay.
But
that makes sense, though.
Yeah.
When you think about it, because, like, they had that huge fight. Like, they kind of, not really a fight, but, like, you can tell they don't like each other in the bar. And then, like, that happens after he goes, yeah, somebody keyed my car. That makes sense.
1964 Chevelle Malibu convertible driven by Vincent Vega, John Travolta, belonged to the writer and director Quentin Tarantino and was stolen during production of the film. In 2013, a police officer saw two kids stripping an older car. He arrested them, and while looking up the owner of the vehicle, he found the VIN had been altered. It turned out that it was Tarantino's stolen car. The owner had recently purchased it and had no idea it was stolen.
Wow, that's crazy. But it was stolen during
the production.
So, like,
yeah.
200, not until 2013 did they find it.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That
Interesting.
Is crazy.
Well, let's move forward. Let's start breaking down this extremely chaotic timeline of a movie. So we have 4 categories that we break things down by. First, we go over the story, and then you can get a 1 out of 10. And then we go into cinematography.
Yep.
And also 1 out of 10 on that. And then we go over acting. And then we do music.
Yeah.
And then we accumulate all these scores, you guys, add them up and divide them by the categories, and that's how we get our number. So let's start with the story. So the movie opens up with a definition of what pulp fiction is. And the definition is a soft, moist, shapeless mass of material. A magazine or book containing lurid subject matter and being characteristically printed on rough, unfinished paper. Which I think sums up this movie. Think about it. A soft, moist, shapeless mass of material.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sums it up, man. Like, so we start with the prologue, which is actually, this movie's interesting because it's broken up in chapters. And stuff doesn't happen in a continuous timeline like in a lot of movies. This movie jumps around. And I don't know if that's a technique so much to keep you engaged throughout the movie, which it does. I didn't find it that confusing. Did you?
No, but I could see people being confused.
It's nothing like fucking Tenet.
No, you definitely can follow the story easier than that. It's not that complicated. It's just an interesting way to tell a story.
No, it definitely is. I mean, so we start out with the prologue in the diner. You got Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, who are basically just this crazy-ass couple who are having coffee. And they've been apparently robbing places for a while. Liquor stores, it seems like, mostly. And, the guy, Pumpkin, is talking to Honey Bunny, who's his girlfriend, and he's like, I'm kind of done with this. Fuck this. Let's not do this anymore. And she's like, you always say that. And then he's like, well, you know what we should rob? We should rob restaurants. And she's like, yeah, we should. And basically, we go from that to they're like, okay, let's do it. And they're like, this is a fucking holdup. Nobody move. And then we jump to the prelude, which is Vincent Vega, which is John Travolta. And
they're driving in a car talking about hash.
What the hell? I know, but what the hell is freaking it's Vincent, and what's Samuel Jackson's character's name?
Oh, I know this.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
A bunch of guys are like, it's this. I've watched this movie like a billion times.
How could you forget his name?
It's so important, this movie.
Jules.
So Jules and Vinny are cruising. And they're talking about Amsterdam, because that's where Vincent's been for the last 3 years, apparently. Talking about how great it is in Amsterdam. This is where Tarantino really shines, man. Like, he writes great dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, his dialogue is engaging, it's fun to listen to, and writing dialogue's hard. And he writes it well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he makes talking about a Big Mac and what it's called in Amsterdam interesting.
Yeah.
Which is surprising. But then they use it later on,
it's a setup and a payoff.
Yeah, well,
he does a lot of setups and payoffs. Quentin Tarantino does do a good job of doing setups and payoffs for sure throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
for sure, because that comes up later.
Well, a lot of the conversations that they have come up over and over again. The whole scene, this whole intro scene is really well done. I like how you get to know these two on like a personal level, because they're just like kind of BSing the entire time on the way there. And then they get there and they're still talking. And I really like the shot of them going up the stairs, because it's all one shot, and they follow him to the door and they're sitting there still talking. And Samuel Jackson's like, what's the time? It's like, it's too early. And then they wander a little more down the hallway.
And then they're talking about some dude gave so their boss, his name is Marcellus Wallace, and some guy was giving his wife a foot massage, and the rumor is that then they chucked the motherfucker out the window because of that.
Yeah,
he was pissed.
And Samuel's like, his character's basically saying, I think it's kind of an overreaction.
Right, and Vincent's like, no, man, you don't get it. Like, a foot massage is more than just a foot massage.
Yeah, it's like
Austin can appreciate this. How would you feel if someone gave your wife a foot massage?
I wouldn't be cool with it.
Okay, fair enough. I don't think you should be.
Massage is weird because Allie's a massage therapist and she's given a lot of other people
Yeah,
massages.
but like, it was just some bro massaging her feet.
Yeah, it'd be different.
Yeah,
A
little bit.
I think I'd agree with Vincent on this one. So,
yeah. Well, and so, like, once again, like, they're talking about just stupid shit.
but it all comes back up.
No, it all ties together.
Yeah.
Like, once again,
It's all meant to be there.
some of it is.
Majority of it.
That's the thing, dude. Like, some of it, there's some shit that's just fucking
Well, even
just
like
stupid shit.
in the coffee shop, their whole discussion about like people like robbing certain places where it will be easy. Like a restaurant makes sense because like it's a chain. They don't care. It's not their business.
Right.
But if you go rob someone's like random store that they own, they're going to have a shotgun or a handgun behind the
Right.
counter. And that pays off later too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I do agree with that. No, he does do good setups and payoffs. No, there's no disagreeing with that. So take us back. So they're outside the door trying, debating about this whole foot massage thing.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, fuck, it's time to go in. They pop into the room and they're shaking down all these guys. And Vincent goes to the back, into the kitchen, and Jules is just going fucking just ape shit on these guys, like verbally.
Not yet. He's being real nice on
Oh yeah,
them,
he
but-
is. He's like, yeah, sit back down, man, relax.
Yeah, put your foot back up.
Yeah, it's funny when he walks in. He tells the one guy to the one guy's like starting to get up. He's like, no, sit down. He's like being really friendly. Tells him to sit back down. And then I think it's Brett is the guy that's sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
And he starts kind of going, oh, that's a nice burger. I want to try a little bit of that burger. Has a bite of the burger. Hey, do you mind if I wash down this meal with some of your beverage? And he's like, yeah. And
Yeah, it's really good acting.
drinks down his Sprite. It's good. It's great dialogue.
Well, it's funny because like this is like a part of the movie that most people I don't feel like they would show. Like there's so much that he leaves in here that I feel like well, you're right because like the burger thing has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
Like he's just there chit-chatting and trying to get these guys comfortable while Vincent's in the back looking around for what they came for.
Right. Which you never find out what that is either, by the way.
You just know it's something.
Something golden.
Something
'cause
pretty.
It shines.
Yeah.
It shines every time they open up the case.
Maybe it's the monkey head from Indiana Jones.
It could be. That's what I was kind of thinking. That's where it went. So Jules asked him, he's like, are we happy, Vincent? And he's like, oh, we happy. Because he looks in the case and they have what they came for. And then it goes back to shaking down Brett, who's the guy that apparently has this thing that Marcellus Wallace wants back. And this part's actually kind of funny because so Jules is like, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? And he's like, I don't know. He starts, he's like, what? He's like, I don't know. He's like, where are you from? He's like, what? He's like, I never heard of what? He's like, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? And he's like, he's black. He's like, okay. And he's bald. He's black. He's like, and then this part's just classic, dude. He's like, does he look like a bitch? He's like, and he's like, what? He's like, does Marcellus Wallace look like a bitch? He's just like freaking out. Samuel's just going crazy on him. And he's like, no. He's like, because Brett, he's like, you're fucking him like he's a bitch. He's like, and Marcellus Wallace is not to be fucked by anybody but his wife. And this part's funny because this is also a setup and a payoff. Because Marcellus Wallace then gets fucked later on, literally, in the ass. By some guys. So I watched that again last night. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, there you go. And then, like, Jules goes into this long monologue of quoting a verse from the Bible, which is pretty sick, dude. And then he just unloads on him.
Well, that Bible, the quote that it's made up.
Oh, is it really?
It's not real.
No shit.
Yeah, it's kind of a modge podge of like
a bunch of different verses.
2 different verses, yeah.
Interesting. I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's It's a great line, and then he just fucking wastes him. And Travolta wastes him too. And then that's it. We jump out of that shot. We jump out of that story. Like, that's something that Tarantino does. So, like, he takes you up to these moments where things kind of like climax, and then he pieces out and leaves them hanging. They come back later. So from there, we go to
Bruce Willis.
Do we go to Bruce Willis?
Yep, he's in the club talking to the big boss now.
Is this? But this. So yeah, you're right. We're introduced to Bruce Willis, but this part is still about Vincent and Marcella Wallace's wife. This part isn't necessarily about Bruce Willis. We get introduced to Bruce Willis.
Well, he's kind of telling Bruce because he gives him money and he's telling him to go down in the fight. Well, this is an interesting
shot too. So this shot opens up. It's a long shot over the shoulder of Marcellus Wallace, who's the main baddie in this entire movie. And he has a Band-Aid on the back of his neck, on the back of his head, because he's bald. And he's talking to Bruce Willis, who's sitting in front of him. Basically, and Bruce Willis is a boxer, is kind of what we're getting told here. And says, hey, you're going to take a dive. And once again, it's a lot of long dialogue. Just talking about how, you need to swallow your pride, and you're going to be living in the Bahamas, and I'm going to pay you, and you need to repeat back to me when you're going to go down. You're going to go down on your ass in the fifth round. And Bruce Willis is like, I'm going to go down on my ass in the fifth round. And then he pays him. Bruce Willis walks over to the bar. That's where he runs into Vincent. And Samuel L., who just show up wearing fucking flip-flops and fucking shorts and T-shirts, which is totally different than what we saw earlier. So we're like, what the fuck happened to those guys?
Yeah, they're not in their suits anymore.
Which is kind of a
setup.
Once again, it's kind of nice too, because you're like, what the fuck?
Why are they wearing?
Yeah, it keeps you interested.
Tennis clothes, yeah,
right? Because you're like, I don't know what happened here. And then Vincent and Bruce Willis kind of have an exchange where they're looking at each other, and Vincent calls him Punchy, and he goes, "What'd you say?" And then Marcellus Wallace is like, "Hey," because before this, Vincent is talking to the bartender with Samuel L., and they're talking about how he's taking out the wife of Marcellus Wallace, who is the woman who got her foot massaged and had the dude got checked out of a fucking window. Yeah. That's what we've been told. So Vincent's like, you can tell he's kind of nervous. He's like, it's no good. I'm just gonna sit and chill with her. Everyone's making a hard time. So he goes over to see Marcellus. And once again, I like how they do this too. They don't let you see Marcellus Wallace's face until later in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they keep him kind of a mystery. He's kind of hidden. Like, you see him from behind. You see him at a distance. You don't really see him until later in the movie, which is also kind of keeps you engaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. He does. That's how he keeps you in, because, like, it's not a lot of talking is in this film and a lot of long shots, so it's slow. But all the little things he's like sprinkling out throughout the movie is keeping you like, okay, why are these guys wearing different clothes?
Right.
Like a bunch of little things like that through the entire film. And then like now you're engaged with Bruce Willis because you're like, okay, he's paying him to go down in the fifth round, so why?
Right.
And he continues to do that through the entire film.
Right. He just keeps hopping back and forth to keep you engaged.
Yeah.
Keeps kind of leaving these things hanging and then comes back to revisit them.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, a smart tactic. I mean, I can't knock on him there, you know? And it's very different from other movies. Up to this time, we hadn't really seen someone do this in a film format, which is why I think it was such a big deal. Also, it just covers a lot of really fucking raunchy shit.
Yeah.
You know, which is, oh, wow. So, from there...
Vince is buying cocaine from the...
No, he's not. It's not cocaine. It's fucking heroin.
Oh, that's heroin?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he melts it down. Yeah. I forgot.
So he's buying heroin from one of his homies. And this part, once again, opens up with this bitch talking about, I have this piercing and this piercing, and I have so many piercings, and they always use a needle. And it's like, once again, useless information.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's a shock factor because she talks about having...
And then I have my clit pierced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
People going like...
She said the C word, oh my God. Well, and that's what I'm saying, dude. This movie, there's a lot of that in this movie. A lot of this movie is that. Yeah. Right? I mean...
This movie did come out in 1994, so...
Well, we'll take it back. A soft, moist, shapeless mass of material. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it starts with that. It's the girlfriend of the drug dealers talking, and then Vincent goes, why do you have all that in your face? And she's like... Or no, why do you have your tongue pierced? And she's like, it's good for blowjobs, basically.
Yeah.
And so then he goes in, and our ginger fucking red-haired drug
Cameron,
dealers.
who's selling heroin.
If I sold heroin, he's basically running him through, you know, this is the good stuff, this is this stuff, this is why this stuff is whatever. And he buys some basically, and then he's talking shit on his wife, and he's like, because he's like because the ginger-haired guy is trying to set Vincent up with the girl out there, and he goes, "Is that the girl with all the shit in her face?" And he's like, "That's my wife."
Yeah,
that part's kind of funny. And then he basically says, "Hey, can I shoot up here?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine, dude. Go for it." So he shoots up, and this is a setup and payoff too for what happens later. Because then he's running off to go pick up Mia, Marcellus Wallace's girlfriend, to take her out for the night. And from here,
he's high as a kite, driving his car, and
we see him inject it too. We see him melt it down and inject the heroin.
And then he's driving to go hang out with Mia, which is Marcellus's wife,
which is played by Uma Thurman.
So he gets to her house, and he's still super high, kind of like, this is like that classic gif of him, like, he doesn't know where the hell he is, And she's like upstairs snorting cocaine and watching him in this little surveillance room that she has, and like leading him to like where he needs to talk back.
On this intercom.
On the intercom. And he gets there, and she's like, "Make a drink." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then he makes a drink. She finally comes downstairs, and I can't remember all the conversation they had too. There,
you mean they're at the house?
Yeah,
I don't remember it being anything. I think they basically just bounced. I watched it again last night. The second time they just bounce.
They just take off. Out. They go to Jackrabbit Slim's,
which is just this kind of like novelty restaurant where everyone's dressed up as like Marilyn Monroe and James Dean and
Zorro,
and different characters like Hollywood, almost like Red Robin, but like on another level.
Yeah,
you see like in Cars and Eat inside the building,
and Elvis is playing music.
Yeah,
and it's a real long shot of like Vincent just lost because he's
fucked up.
He's so high.
It's like, where am I?
Space cruising.
Dude, he's fucked, man.
But
she's high too.
Yeah, everyone's high in this film.
Pretty much.
And then they take a seat in their little car, and they talk quite a bit. Well, they order food.
They order food. She orders a milkshake, and he's like, "You can pay $5 for a milkshake?" He's like, "Is there any rum in that or anything?" He's like, "No." He's like, "All right, so I'm just saying $5 for a milkshake, and it's just milk and ice cream." And so she orders one, and the guy who plays the waiter is that one actor who's in a bunch of movies. He's in a bunch of Adam Sandler movies. He's also in Armageddon. I can't remember what the fuck his name is. He's a goofy-looking dude.
I can't remember.
It's all right, but he plays the waiter, which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, so they order food, and they're talking about Mia, and he's asking her about what she used to do. You see her, she was on a TV show called The Foxy Five or something like that, and she's kind of telling him about that. And there's a joke that that her character would have on that show on the pilot, but it never really took off. And Vincent's like, "Well, tell me the joke." And she's like, "No, because I'll feel stupid." And he's like, "I promise I won't laugh." She's like, "That's what I'm afraid of." Which is a funny piece of dialogue, right? Because she's going to tell him a joke.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, that's not what I meant." And it's just a bunch of his useless conversation. That's a lot of this movie.
The joke pays off later.
Well, that does.
Yeah.
But like a bunch of the rest of it is just, there's so much of it. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, and then they have an uncomfortable silence, and she's like, "That's how you know you really met someone that means something."
You kind of feel like she's trying to flirt with Vincent the entire time. And Vincent's just like, "Fucking stop."
He's like, "Well,
I don't want to get hurt.
I don't want to get thrown
out of a window."
Yeah, into a garden.
Oh, yeah. Into a freaking glass house. So she goes, "I'm going to run to the bathroom. You think of something fun to talk about when I come back?" She runs in there, does some more cocaine, comes back out, and this is where Vincent kind of gets a little bit brave and goes, "Hey, I'm going to ask you something, but don't get mad." And he asks her about, homeboy getting chucked out of a window for massaging her feet. And she's like, "That's bullshit. You really think that?"
And she just kind of gives him crap for bringing that up, because she's like, "You guys are worse than a sewing circle."
Yeah, like all the guys who are working.
Yeah, you guys all just
husband
gossiping around. And then they have a...
Oh, yeah, there's a dance.
Yeah, they have a dance, and she wants to win the award. And then John Travolta's doing his dance.
They're just both dancing like...
And then they win.
And they do win.
And he goes home. And she has the trophy, and you can tell that, like, oh no, like, Vincent and her really getting along, and they're having a fun time.
Yeah, you're like, dude, is he going to, like, massage your feet? That's what I kept waiting for.
Something like that.
Because I think that would have been funny if he did. That would have been. I think that would have been funnier than what they ended up doing.
Yeah. So they get home, and she's wearing Vincent's coat, and Vincent's like, I gotta go take a piss or whatever.
Right.
And he goes into the bathroom. So another thing I noticed in this film is like anytime Vincent goes to the bathroom, something bad happens.
That's a good point.
Because
that's interesting. You're right.
This part of the film,
that's a pattern.
He goes in there and he's telling himself, he's like, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to leave.
I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to drink it fast.
I'm going to go home and I'm going to jerk off.
And while she's out there wearing...
She finds his drugs.
Yeah, she finds the heroin and then she snorts it and ODs.
Yeah. Well, and then he comes out there and he's like, what the fuck? And she's like thrown up and she's bleeding out of her nose. And he's like, I got to get her, I need to, because I'm going to die if she dies.
Yeah.
So he's like, jumps in his car, he's cruising, he calls up the ginger drug dealer, yo, bro, I'm coming over. Actually, that part's pretty funny. He keeps calling him and he's not answering, and we go back and he's just eating cereal, watching TV, and finally he answers the phone. He's like, you better not bring her fucking here, don't bring some high bitch here. And then he's like, I'm coming, like, fuck you, like, you need to help me with this.
Yeah, like, otherwise we're all gonna die.
Yeah. So he shows up and crashes his car, like, into the side of the house. He goes running out. They bring her in. I mean, this whole scene's really great. I mean, it's super intense. You're like, fuck, dude, if he doesn't...
Yeah, Tarantino built the tension really, like, leading up to this, because you're worried about Vincent, because you're like, you like Vincent at this point. Because he's a decent dude.
Yeah, he's likable. He's a likable character.
Yeah, and you're like, man, I hope he doesn't massage her foot, because then he'll die.
Yeah.
Or get jiggy with her or whatever. And then she ODs, and then he's freaking out and drives and gets there, and he brings her in. And like this whole scene just in this living room I thought was really well done, because everyone's just freaking out.
Yeah, well, his wife.
People are acting like how people would act if this was happening to them.
Yeah.
So like you can really, like, I mean, I've never had anyone OD around me, but like you can really put your feet in their shoes in a way.
Well, something else, too, that Tarantino does a good job, too, is he does do a good job. We talk about this all the time, like where, you take the first, in a film, you take the first 30 minutes, set up all the characters. He does that. So he follows that structure. He sets all the characters up in the first 30 minutes. He does. He introduces Vincent, Jules, Marcellus Wallace, Butch, who is Bruce Willis's character, Mia. He introduces all the characters for the movie in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah,
so he still follows the structure. But then... he has these events that happen that turn the action around and move it in a different direction out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with it. That happens all the time. Honey Bunny and Pumpkin are introduced in the beginning as well.
Yep.
So, like, and once again, things change, right? Oh, they're just chilling. Oh, we're going to rob this restaurant. Boom, things get thrown another direction. Same thing with Vince and Jules when they show up at the place. They get there and they're like, we better wait. And they go in there and, shit escalates. Same thing with this. Vince is just chilling. And then she fucking ODs, right? Like, he does a really good job of throwing those situations in to really get the action going in another direction out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's good writing, man. That's good screenwriting. That's.
So they get there, and they're trying to figure out how to help her and save her. Pothead Cameron, or Drug Lord Cameron, has a syringe of adrenaline, and he's looking for a notebook.
To tell him how to medically do it.
Yeah. They can't find it. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's pissed off. And the redhead hands Vince the needle, and he's like, "You put it in, man. Like, this is all you. Like, if it was swapped, then I would put it in, but you're taking it." So Vince gets it, and then he's sitting there holding it. They put a red mark on her heart because that's where they need it.
Because they need to go through her chest cavity and
and inject it. And so this part was really good because like he picks up the needle, and then there's like this long like count to 3.
Yeah. It does build the tension because you're like, dude, if he doesn't get her back to life, he's going to die.
Yeah. And so then they count to 3. He punches the needle into her, and she comes right up.
Yeah, she's alive. Thank God. She survives. And so that resolves that, and then they're on their way back to the house right after that.
Yep.
And Vincent asks her, he goes, let's not talk about this to anybody. And she's like, don't worry, I won't either because I'll get in trouble too.
Yeah.
And then he finally asks her about the joke, and she tells him
the joke. Tells him the joke, yeah.
Yeah. And the joke is 3 tomatoes are walking along, and the one's falling behind, the littlest tomato's falling behind.
There's Daddy Tomato, Mama Tomato, and then Baby Tomato.
And Baby Tomato's falling behind. And Daddy Tomato goes back and squishes him. He goes, catch up.
Yeah.
Get it? Catch up. And that's how that chapter ends, I think, right? That's
Yep.
it closes out.
And then we do a flashback.
To the gold watch.
Yep.
And this is going into Butch's character. And this is where we get to see Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And Christopher Walken comes in to this film for just a moment, not for very long, just so he can tell a story about a watch that was in his ass for many years. It's a very interesting part of the movie. It's a flashback of Butch sitting in his house, and Christopher Walken comes inside
And tells him a story.
and tells him about his dad.
Yeah.
So Butch's dad was a vet. Well, so basically, Bruce Willis, all the men in his family before him were in the military, and they all had this watch. And this watch has been passed down from father to son for generations. And the last one is Bruce Willis's dad was in Vietnam, I'm guessing. And
He was a pilot, got shot down
met Christopher Walken's character in the
prison.
right.
And he was hiding a gold watch in his butt for 5 years. And then when he figured out he wasn't going to make it, he handed off the watch to Christopher Walken
Who hid it in his asshole.
for 2 more years.
And that part's pretty funny.
It is pretty funny, man.
It's pretty creative, right?
It's pretty good because like it's a setup payoff for Bruce Willis because the watch is super important to him, and then and then it's funny.
It is funny, man. It's just interesting to have Christopher Walken there just for this scene, right? And now I'm going to give it to you. So here, take this watch that's been inside my asshole for a long time.
It's a little stinky.
It may be a little bit brown. Here. And Christopher Walken, dude, is just too fun to do. I could do the rest of the entire review in my Christopher Walken. But you guys would probably turn this shit off because you probably couldn't handle it. So anyway, when we get done with Christopher Walken giving him this watch, we move on.
Well, he wakes up from
a flashback.
Bruce Willis is laying on the table and he's at the fight.
Just about to go out to do the fight.
His Rocky scene's going down.
We don't even see the fight. We see Bruce Willis do that, and then I think right after that we see him just piecing out.
Yeah, he's just jumping out the window and getting
into the cab. And he's in there, and the lady who's driving the taxi's like,
she was listening to the fight,
right? And apparently he killed the other guy. So not only did Bruce Willis not take the fall in the 5th round like he was supposed to, he fucking killed the other boxer. And the cab driver lady's like, I just want to know what it's like. What's it like to kill someone
with your bare hands?
And it's like, and Bruce Willis is like, I don't know, I don't really care.
He's like, he doesn't even know he killed him,
right?
Until now.
And once again, it's a long, prolonged shot where like we do find out stuff that is important to the story, which is he killed this guy and he didn't take the fall. And it ends with him getting dropped off at the hotel where we meet his girlfriend who's been waiting for him, has all of his shit gathered up. And there's just a lot of stuff here where it's them just being, I love you.
And the whole raunchy thing, too.
What?
When she asked for him to go down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just more nasty shit.
Some more Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, exactly. And then they wake up the next day, and he is like, okay, baby, let's get out of here. Let's go get some breakfast. Everything's good. Realizes he doesn't have his dad's watch, which is a payoff, right? Because, once again, puts the action in a totally different direction. He's like, what the fuck? And he freaks out. Because I kind of like this, and I kind of see like where they spend a lot of time showing him just be super affectionate to this chick the whole night before. And then he's like, on a dime, dude. You didn't get my watch, you fucking idiot. Fuck you.
It's the one thing I asked you to do.
Yeah, he was pissed.
And then he throws the TV and then he apologizes for it. And he's like calming down. He's like, it's okay. You had a ton of stuff you had to do.
Yeah.
And then
he's in the car bitching about it to
yeah,
himself.
Then he goes,
how stupid she is.
Then he goes back to get the watch from his house, which he's sitting there and he's like, he knows like how screwed he is because like
they were looking for him.
Yeah, Marcella's boys are going to be waiting for him.
Right, because he didn't take the fall like he was supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, and I like it too because like, God, man, how many times have we all been in those situations where we get mad at someone like that, and then the next time we're like, it's okay, I'm sorry. Like, it's very real. That's something I will say about Tarantino. He writes really real characters. He does the same thing that we talked about with like other good movies, where the characters are complex. They're not simple as evil, good and evil.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff he's dealing with isn't as deep, I think, as other movies, but the principles are the same. He applies the same principle of, here's this character they do shitty things, but they also do good things.
Yeah.
And they're not, and then you can decide whether or not you think they're a piece of shit or not. Right? Like, I mean, Vincent and Jules kill people for a living. They're fucking hitmen. They're not good guys.
Yeah.
But they do nice things now and then. You see them do things that you're like, oh man, okay. I mean, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
So I think, he does a really good job with that. But anyway, back to the story. So Bruce Willis cruising to get back to his place to get his watch. He gets in there. Everything seems chill. He finds his watch.
He thinks he's got it. He's making a Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
And then he sees this big old silenced Uzi on the countertop, and he's like,
you realize he's not alone. There's somebody else in the house.
And then Vincent comes out of the bathroom
because he's the one who's been sent to kill him.
Yep, and he's reading.
He's reading this book he's been reading the whole movie.
Yeah.
Whenever he's in the bathroom, he's carrying a book. Which, hey, I'm gonna say, dude, I like reading while I'm on the toilet too. I like it, dude. It's so relaxing. I love to have a few pages while I'm, dropping a deuce. It's good times. I feel you, Vincent. That's all I'm saying. I feel you.
Yeah, so then Vincent comes out, and Bruce Willis standing there with the Uzi and just waste him.
Good night. Good night, Big T. That dimple chin couldn't save you from the fucking automatic weapon of Bruce Willis. You gone.
Oh, we missed one part.
What are we missing?
After the taxi, before he's on the payphone talking to a guy in Tennessee. But it's not really. It doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the movie, does it? Well, kind of, because you can see now that Bruce Willis fixed the fight because he's getting paid out for winning the fight now, but also he was told to take a fall.
He was double timing him.
Yeah, he was rigging him.
No, that's true. Well, something else I didn't notice either is I guess that guy, the black guy, when Jules and Vincent go in to the apartment, he was their informant. So he wasn't just some random asshole. He had actually told them, that's why when they kill him, that's why they keep him alive. Because he was the one that was like, hey, dude, this is where everything is. He was their inside dude.
Yeah.
So when they kill him by accident, he was one of their homies.
Yeah.
God. So anyway. So jumping back up. So Bruce Willis ices Travolta. He jumps in his car and he's cruising. And then this is where we finally see Vince Rames, his full face. We get to see Marcellus Wallace in full. Because he's just walking with coffee or something. And he stops. Food. So Bruce Willis stops in front of him. They look at each other and they're like, oh, fuck. And so Bruce Willis hits the gas, runs him over, drives off into a corner and crashes. Marcellus Wallace, meanwhile, ran over. He's sitting there on the ground. He wakes up, comes to. And everyone's trying to help him. They're also trying to help Bruce Willis. And they're like, don't worry, I saw the whole thing, did Marcellus Wallace. I'll be there for you if you go to court. And he sees that Vince gets up. Marcellus Wallace gets up, and he's ready to rock. He sees that Bruce Willis starts shooting his gun. I like this part, too, because he shoots the chick right next to Bruce Willis. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he misses and hits her in the leg.
And Bruce Willis Bruce Willis starts running, trying to get away from him. And once again, this is where the action just goes in another direction that you didn't see coming, right?
Yeah.
Because from here...
He runs into a pawn shop. And what's he trying to get? Is he trying to buy a gun, or is he just...
he's just trying to get the fuck away from him.
Yeah.
And Marcellus Wallace
grabs
falls
a bottle.
him in there.
He grabs a bottle, and as soon as he comes walking in, he hits him.
Right.
And then gets the gun. He's punching him in the face, and he's about to take him out. Pawn shop boy has a shotgun behind the counter, which this is a payoff from the very beginning of the film, because the two people in the diner that were robbing the diner were talking about how robbing certain places, this exact thing could happen.
Right. Well, and from there, and that's the thing. So not only does the shop owner pull out a shotgun and go, hey, what the fuck are you doing? He goes, not only he's like, okay, I'm going to take both of you guys. So he fucking knocks them out.
He knocks out Bruce Willis, and then he ties both of them up. And
then they come to, and they both have a ball gag in their mouths.
Yeah.
And they're in this seedy basement where they've been locked up, and this is where shit gets real weird. I'm going to go get a coffee refill real quick.
All right.
And you just carry us on. We've done this before.
Well, I can just pause and wait for you. You're good. Just go.
Good. No, go ahead.
I'll just wait.
What do you pause?
We can just do.
I might as well. Yo, I'm back, everybody. Sorry. High Point Coffee is awesome. You want to know why High Point? I'm just going to do a little ad here for Steve. A reason why I love High Point is you go in, and if you get a mug, dog, you get endless refills, as many as you want. So I'm going to take advantage of this situation and get myself a refill. So now that I'm back, Where were we?
We're in the basement of the pawn shop. With
Shit's getting weird.
What ball?
Shit's getting weird, dude. Ball gags. So,
before they went down here, though, after he knocked out Bruce Willis, he got on the phone and called someone.
Yeah, he called Zed.
Yeah.
Who we find out is, once again, just one of his freaky-ass buddy.
And he is also a police officer.
True. So this is where shit gets really strange. So I'm getting shaky because of all the coffee I've had. My hand's literally shaking. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this is where shit gets weird. So they're both ball gagged. The weird ass guy from before behind the counter's there, and then his buddy shows up. Yeah, and that actor, this is the guy who plays the bad guy in The Mask.
Yeah.
Can't remember what his name is, but he's a good actor. And so he shows up, and basically, like, these guys are, like, freaks, dude. They've got some other guy already locked up. They pull him out of a cage. He's all in latex. And they're going to rape these guys, like, viciously. Like,
they call him the Gimp, the dude that they have in the cage.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that's all about.
Yeah.
Basically, it's weird. And so they bring him out, tie his ass up. And this is a really good part, too. This is a good part. This is where Tarantino does a good job building tension, because they're trying to decide if they're going to fucking rape Bruce Willis first, or if they're going to rape Marcellus Wallace first. And so they're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mowing between them. And like it's just like classic. Like they keep going, and then like he doesn't finish the rhyme. He keeps adding on like those extra rhymes you'd add on to that when you were a kid, when you didn't want to finish choosing. Yeah. And it ends up landing on Marcellus Wallace. So they pull him off, take him into the room, and they go fucking rape him. And Bruce Willis, meanwhile,
he's still tied up, and the Gimp's in there with him.
Yeah, but he's tied up too, so he can't. That's the funny part. Leave. So the other slave who they already had like all tied up, he can't do anything because they've tied him up.
Yeah,
which I don't know what the fuck they're. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what they're doing with him.
Yeah, Bruce Willis ends up getting
free.
Yeah,
and the guy in the thing's like, ah!
He's like, and he just screaming,
fucking knocks him out.
Yeah, but they don't hear because they're playing music in the other room.
Yeah, well, they're playing music and they're fucking the shit out of Marcellus Wallace. This part's great too. I like this part because Bruce Willis goes to leave, so he's like, I'm out of here. Like, fuck this. Like, 2 problems solved. The guy who's trying to kill me's gone, and I'm free. So he goes upstairs in the pawn shop. And this is actually a really great scene too, because like he stops, and I think he like realizes, I can't just leave him down there, man. Like,
this is just
this is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go back down there and save
Bruce
him.
Bruce Willis goes back behind the pawn shop, and he starts grabbing certain things that he may, like he gets a hammer and he's like looking at it, and then he finds a chainsaw, and he picks up the chainsaw and he's like, okay, maybe this will work. And then he finds a baseball bat.
It keeps escalating.
Yeah, and
like he keeps finding better objects to seek his revenge.
Yeah, and he finally finds a katana, and then he takes that downstairs and rescues our boy. Well, when he goes through the door, so he slices the one guy, and literally you can see, dude, his ass is out. Yeah. His ass is out, and the police guy's just ramming him, dude. He's just fucking him in the ass, raping him, dude. It's fucking terrible. It's god awful, man. Yeah.
And Bruce Willis goes in there with a samurai sword, kills the one guy, and then he doesn't. I want to say he doesn't.
He doesn't hit the other guy. He's like telling him to get the gun, and then Marcellus gets up with the shotgun.
Yeah, and shoots his penis.
And then shoots him. Yeah,
shoots him in the dick, dude.
Yeah.
So he shoots the police officer in the dick, and he's like, "I'm not done with you yet. I'm gonna call my boys up, and we're gonna have a good time.
I'm gonna go medieval on you."
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna go medieval on your ass.
He's gonna get his payback with this dude.
Oh yeah, dude. That guy shouldn't have stuck his dick in there. It was a bad move, man.
Yeah. And then Marcellus is basically like, when Bruce Willis sitting there, he's like, so what about us?
Are we cool?
Yeah, and then
I saved you from getting raped, man.
Then Marcellus is like, 2 things. You don't tell anybody about this. Right. And you leave town tonight and never come back.
That shit's pretty funny, dude.
And we cool.
So that's resolved. And so from there, Bruce Willis leaves, jumps on Zed's bike, goes to go get his girl. There's a long talk about blueberry pancakes and stupid shit, but it doesn't really matter.
Then
she jumps on the
Zed's
bike,
dead, honey,
and they roll off, and that's the end. Like,
it's not a motorcycle either; it's a chopper.
Yeah, that's my bad. That's the end of that chapter, though. Like, that's the end of Bruce Willis' story.
Yeah.
So from there, we jump back in time to the Bonnie situation, and this part we pick up from where we were last with Samuel L. Jackson and Vincent back in the apartment. So at this point, we already know Vincent dies later because he's dead. And then they're back in that room, so we're picking up right where they just iced those guys. They just clipped them.
Yeah.
And this guy comes out.
He was hiding in the bathroom.
Yeah, he comes out. Well, no, the guy was in the bathroom. He was just like on the other side of the door.
Oh.
So another guy comes out with a revolver and just starts shooting at him. Just like point blank, boom, boom, boom. And then they both just unload on him and kill him.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, this is a funny thing, too, because, like, this is where Samuel's like, this was divine intervention, dog. Like, this saved us. Like, God came down and saved us. And Vincent's like, no, man, like, you're overreacting, whatever. And they're kind of having an argument about it. And so they take the extra guy who was there, and they kind of give him a hard time. Like, dude, why didn't you fucking tell us there was a guy in there with a gun? Like, why didn't you say something? Motherfucker. The guy was waiting the whole time. And all good. They got what they needed. They jump in their car, and they're just cruising. And this part's pretty fucking funny, dude.
Yeah,
this part makes me laugh.
They're talking about the divine intervention in there, and gosh dang it.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson and Vincent. Yeah, they're chatting, and Vincent's like, he's not having it, and Samuel's like totally like, oh, God was there, and then Vincent turns around and he's asking, what's his name?
I don't remember. He's asking the guy.
It's Marvin. He's like, Marvin, what do you think? And he turns around and he's pointing his gun like directly in his face.
And it goes off and he shoots him.
Yeah, and he shoots Marvin in the head. And
his brain just splatter all over in the car.
Yeah, and Vincent's like, man, I just shot Marvin in the face.
And the way it's like so nonchalant about it is like what makes it so funny. It's like so over the top and so like out of control.
And then Samuel he gets his cell phone out, calls up a friend, and he's like saying, "Hey man, we got a situation. We're like in big trouble driving around on the streets in broad daylight,
covered in blood."
Yeah. And that's when. So does it jump to? Yeah. He takes the car.
From there,
takes
like,
the car to Jimmy.
Like they go to Jimmy, and Jimmy is played by none other than Quentin Tarantino himself.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out because he's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Does this look like the kind of place where I used to have dead guys?" He doesn't say that.
Yeah,
he says a lot of other words, but he's just freaking out, and he's like, "And my wife's going to be home," and that's why this is called the Bonnie situation. And once again, every one of these sections of the movie have a chapter heading that comes in black that goes, "So this is the Bonnie situation," where that was the gold watch, where that was Vincent Vega, Marcellus Wallace's wife. The prologue was the diner, so like it's chapter book kind of set up. That's what Tarantino loves to do that in all of his movies. He has this chapter set up where you're jumping back and forth, which other movies do, but they don't have the chapter heading now that I think about it. They jump back, other movies jump back where they still have this like chapter style.
Even in Reservoir Dog?
I haven't watched that one. That was his first movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they get there, he's freaking out. My wife's going to be home in 2 hours. Got to figure this shit out. They're in the bathroom cleaning themselves off with like towels and stuff, and Vincent gets the one covered in blood. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" Samuel L. Jackson's like all pissed off at him, and so he calls up Marcellus Wallace, going, "Hey, man, we're in some deep shit, dude. I need you to tell me you're going to send some help." And Marcellus Wallace is like, "So what do you want me to do?" He's like, "I want you to tell me that everything's going to be all right, and that you're sending the cavalry." And he goes, "All right, everything's going to be all right. You just need to chill.
Yeah.
I'm sending the wolf." And he's like, "You feel better now?" And he's like, "The wolf?" He's like, "Yeah, I feel great. That's all you had to say." And the wolf is this guy who's just solves problems.
He's the cleanup man.
And so they call him. He's at a party. He's like, "All right, I'll be there." He's like, "It's 30 minutes away. I'll be there in 5 minutes or 8 minutes.
10 minutes.
And it says like, and like, he's just like cruising. It says like whatever.
9 minutes and 48 seconds. Yeah.
And he pulls up in his badass fast. I don't know what
it's an Acura.
Is it an Acura?
Yeah.
And he goes in and is just like, immediately like, "Hey, get me some coffee." And like, it's just funny to see like Tarantino's character, Jimmy, like has no respect for Vincent or Jules at all. But for this guy, he does. Like, he's very respectful. He's like, "Whatever you want." Like,
yeah.
Gives him a cup of coffee. He's telling him how they're going to do this. And there's some back and forth between Vincent and the wolf. He's like, "You could have said please." And he's like, "Listen, I'm here to fucking solve the problem. So you better just fucking get on board and pretty please with a cherry on top, go out there and start cleaning that shit up."
Yeah.
So he starts looking for blankets to cover up all the blood. Vincent and Jules are out there, and they're in there like wiping up, having their back and forth. And I mean, it's a great funny scene.
Yeah,
it's well written, like all of Tarantino's stuff. Once again, it's well written, man.
All the dialogue from Vincent and Samuel Jackson, dude, it's mint. It's really good. But that's also because like they're great actors. Like I don't think you could stick any.
Well,
other
I asked you about that.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll talk about that more once because we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the movie. Dude.
Yeah.
We're so close. And so like they basically clean everything up, and jump in there, and the wolf drives the car. They drive his car.
Well, the wolf sprays them down. And they change.
Oh yeah,
clothes.
that's right. They spray him down, and we see why they're in flip flops and shorts and stuff. You're right. My bad. And that part's funny. He's Quentin Tarantino's standing there, gives him some soap, and they spray him off. Clean him.
They're enjoying it. The wolf and Tarantino is enjoying spraying him down.
Yeah, no,
like
it's
prisoners.
Funny, dude. So they spray him down, and then they take the car to a woman to dispose of it with the body in the back, and that's it. That's the end of that. The Bonnie situation ties it up. That's the resolution of that, and then we jump back into the diner, which is where these guys go after this.
Yeah, they go after this because they're hungry.
Chronologically, yeah. So they go stop at this diner, and then
Vincent's like, "Will you eat with me?
Yeah.
I'm hungry." And so they go to the diner.
And they're complaining. They're still arguing about divine intervention. And Samuel Jackson said, I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm going to stop this. I'm not going to be living this life anymore." And they go to the diner where we started with Bonnie and Pumpkin, who are just about, who as Austin said, it's funny. Vincent goes up to
Honey Bunny and Pumpkin.
My bad. Honey Bunny and Pumpkin.
Yeah.
And like Austin said, it is funny. I never noticed that. It's a good point. Like Vincent goes up to use the bathroom again, and that's when those guys decide to have their hold up.
Yep.
And Samuel's just chilling by himself. So these guys we jump out of that. They're holding everybody up. They're, telling everybody they're going to kill them. They don't listen. They get the manager to tell them to stay chill. And then they start grabbing people's wallets and having them hand them stuff. And we see that Jules, Samuel Jackson's character, he has his gun. And you're like waiting for him to like get crazy. But he hands over his wallet. And then the guy,
Pumpkin wants to know what's in the briefcase.
And that's where, Jules draws lines like, dude, I can't give you this briefcase. And there's a bunch of dialogue here again. Because Jules, I want to say he comes forward and he
ends up opening up the case.
Right.
To, get his attention. And he comes closer. And then he grabs him and then pulls his gun out on him.
Right.
And then this is where he recites his famous Bible line.
Well, not just that, but, there's you need to be chill. We cool?
Yeah.
We cool? Because then, Honey Bunny comes running over and is like...
She's freaking out.
Freaking out, pointing her gun at Samuel. And Samuel's like, you better tell that bitch to calm down.
Yeah.
You tell your bitch to calm down. He's like, say, bitch, calm down. There's a really great bunch of dialogue right here, dude. And it goes on and on and on. But it's funny because it goes on and on.
Yeah.
And Samuel, and then Vincent shows up, and he pulls his gun on Honey Bunny.
Yeah.
And then she's freaking out, and Samuel's like, we all chill? Everybody chill. Everybody just chill. Because Samuel Jackson is really trying to turn over this new leaf.
Yeah.
So he's trying to diffuse it, and he explains that. He quotes that verse, like Austin said from the Bible, and goes, listen, I'm trying to change my life. He's like, and so I want you to open up my wallet. He's like, I want my wallet back. He says, and on the wallet it says, it says bad motherfucker, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And he pulls out and he's like, how much money is in there? He's like, count the money. And he's like, there's about $1,500 here. And he's like, okay. He's like, you get to keep that. He's like, I'm buying your life. It gets actually pretty deep here. Where he's philosophically having this discussion about how I'm buying your life, but I'm not giving up this case. I'm going to let you walk out alive with all the money you have. And everything's going to be cool. And you're waiting for it to go out of control. You're waiting for somebody to shoot somebody. But it doesn't. They walk out.
Yeah, I like the scene with him with the briefcase when he's talking and he starts reciting his Bible thing. He's like, I used to just say this because I thought it was something cool to say to people before I blasted them. But now I'm really thinking about it. And maybe the gun is the sheep, or he moves it around. Yeah, he gets really philosophical here, and it's really good dialogue, I thought.
Yeah, it's good. No, this whole scene's well done. The dialogue is great.
And then Samuel Jackson, his character has changed because he just came from the apartment where he literally just blasted 2 or 3 guys. Yeah.
Well, and the guy who came out and shot at those guys, you see it afterwards. There's a bunch of bullet holes in the wall right behind him and where Vincent were, and that's why he's like, "Oh, dude, it was divine intervention. We should have been dead."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I liked that part of it's a good movie, dude. So that wraps it up. It ends, that's where it ends.
Yeah.
It ends where it started. So let's talk about it overall. Overall as a story, dialogue's on point. This is interesting. So, we've talked a lot about this. the principles that make a good movie, Tarantino follows all of them. From the structure, the setups and the payoffs, the patterns, the way he uses music in certain parts as well. There's not like an actual in this movie he uses a lot of like actual like songs.
Yeah.
But he follows all the what makes a good movie. He does good, interesting characters. They're complex. But once again, I feel like it's just an empty, shapeless mass of material. It's Pulp Fiction, right? It's a magazine or book containing lurid subject matter and being characteristically printed on rough, unfinished paper. Like, it's not. I don't know, man. Like,
it's like stories you'd read out of a magazine or something, like short stories.
Yeah, like, well, and that's the thing is like,
together.
I don't know.
It's told well.
It's well done. So you tell me, what do you think? I mean, story wise, I'm gonna say like this movie. Like, I get a bunch of you guys fucking want to suck the dick of this movie. I get that. Okay, I get it. But if you really looked inside of yourselves and really thought about this, is it because you're just being a hipster fucking douche, or is it because it actually is a super great, fantastic film? Right? Like, I wouldn't have watched this movie again if we weren't watching it for the podcast. I wouldn't have. Straight up, I wouldn't have. I've thought about it before. It's been on Netflix, and I'm like, don't really fucking care for it. Like, this is where like my personal opinion is going to come out a little bit more. Like, well executed, well done. Tarantino is great at what he does. Absolutely. Amazing dialogue. Once again, though, is it amazing dialogue? If you have to throw fuck in however many times, is that good dialogue, or is that you just trying to shock the audience? You know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of shock value in this film, for sure.
Well, how many times did you say you said fuck? How many times did it say
260 or
yeah,
something?
like, and that's the thing is, like, is that good dialogue, or is that trying to make up for, but there is good dialogue. That's what's tough, is like, even if you take all 248 fucks in the movie, there are really good lines of dialogue.
Yeah, there's a ton.
But at the same time, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough. What do you think? I've taught enough. What do you think about that? What do you think about the story? And it's okay, man. You don't have to agree with me.
I like that it's different. My only biggest thing is, like, I like movies that have a deeper meaning in them. Like, we just reviewed The Revenant, and at the end of The Revenant, getting revenge isn't the answer. And that's the deeper meaning running through that film. And I like stuff like that, like Rocky, like being the underdog and not even winning the fight, but lasting through the fight and taking the punches and going the rounds. I like meanings like that. Something that there's an undertone in there, and there's nothing here for Pulp Fiction. There's nothing.
Well, but that's kind of what it is, though, right? By definition, that's like, what Tarantino was trying to do.
And he accomplished it. It's entertaining to watch,
right? And
it's funny, and it's a like overall like the way the story's laid out and the way he jumps around. Like, it's a fun show to watch. But other than that, there's nothing else there, really.
Well, and what's interesting is, like, we talked about this before, like, what is the function of story? What is the function of making a film, right? Like, are you trying... This is like where we can get into debates with, like, our friends or people who listen to the podcast. Like, stories have a function. Stories have a point. And they've been used for thousands of years to teach lessons to people. And once again, that doesn't mean that movies like this shouldn't be made. That doesn't mean that movies like this don't have value. That doesn't mean that Pulp Fiction's a bad film, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, it's a well done film. And I think that the cool thing about movies and stories is that you can tell them however you want about whatever you want. And this is a perfect example. You can make anything interesting and good if you're a good storyteller.
Yeah.
Tarantino's a good storyteller. He's really good at implementing what he writes. He's really good at putting something down and making it engaging and interesting. Now, whether or not there's actual substance to that is a whole other debate, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, and that's like, if you judge this by the execution of it, it's a 10.
Storytelling, yeah.
It's a 10. It's a 10 for execution, originality, all that shit. But if you judge it by what is there in this story that you're going to pick up and carry with you outside of, wow, man, people are really fucked up. Wow, that's some really raunchy shit. Like, besides that, there's not You don't carry anything with you.
Yeah.
Like, this is a movie that you watch, you get fucked up and stoned or drunk, and you sit down and you watch this and you laugh. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, and you want something to just kind of, if you want to burn 2 hours of your life and just on mindless shit, which is fine. I do that, you guys. I'm not saying you can't do that. Do it. I think it's good for you once in a while. That's what Pulp Fiction is, in my opinion. So, I mean, it's tough, dude. It's really fucking tough because it is really well done. I mean, I would almost say it's not a 10 because of that, I'd say. I would minus some points just because it's not something that has. But I get that's the problem with this, though.
That's what it's about.
That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Nah. I get that, you guys, but you know what? Fuck you. If that's what he was trying to do, fine. But I can also say, okay, it's not as good as The Revenant because of that. Sorry. It's not as good as, what's another great movie that we've reviewed? Rocky. It's not
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right, like, fuck, dude, you're gonna have some people pissed off on that comparison. It's not. Sorry, it's not. Like, is it fun to watch? Yeah, it's a great movie. It's great and entertaining in that way. But aside from that, it's kind of shit. Like, I would never, like, if I had to pick one movie to watch,
this one would
it wouldn't be this movie.
Very bottom.
It wouldn't be this movie. Yeah, it wouldn't be. Sorry, it's a good movie though. So I'd say an 8. I'd say an 8.
I'd give it an 8.
Which is still pretty good, guys, story-wise. It's still really good. It's not a 10, though, and it's simply not and this is something that I think it's really interesting. Because Tarantino, I'm not a huge Quentin Tarantino fan anyway, but he has dabbled in doing movies that are more traditional movies. He's been in talks to make a James Bond movie at one point. He was talking to Pierce Brosnan about that years ago. Or he was in talks to make Star Trek back before J.J. Abrams relaunched the series. He was in talks to do a Star Wars movie. There's been, like, he's been in talks, and so it would be really interesting to see someone who's as good at what he does take something that's a little bit more mainstream and not trying to be a hipster fucking massive shapeless material like this is. It'd be really interesting to see him go and do that. I would love to see him, and I think he'd kill it. I really think he'd kill it because I think he's a talented writer and filmmaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not his gimmick. His gimmick is ultra violent, ultra, like,
shock value.
That's his gimmick. And you see that in every one of his movies. And it's like by the time you get, like, I don't know if I've watched all of his movies, but I watched The Hateful Eight a few months ago, and, like, it's an okay movie, but once again, it's like, it's kind of boring, dude. I was bored and even with this one in the beginning, I was kind of bored. You know, I was trying to stay awake for the first half an hour. So I don't know. So I think 8 on story. I think that's fair. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. See, Austin's falling asleep right now. Is talking about this shit. So from there, we move on to cinematography. The way it was shot.
There's some cool stuff, but it's nothing. It's not Tenet level. It's not Batman level. It's not.
Yeah, and there's nothing like super different.
Yeah, I mean, he does some, like, the long shots are cool, and I like them. But that's been...
Well, when he has some animations that come in, like when she tells Vince not to be a square, that was kind of interesting.
There's some little things they do in there, but it's nothing...
So what, maybe like a 6?
Yeah, I'd say a 6. Like, it's solid. It's good. It's solid, but it's not pushing that envelope on that.
I like the way I do like the way though that they shot. Sorry, not to cut you off. I really do like the way that they did Marcellus Wallace, so not really showing him.
Yeah,
not really revealing him. I really like the way they did do that.
But yeah, that's not.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
a lot of his shots are just like weird. It's like the shot when they're in the house and he's looking for the medical book. Like, you're outside the room that he's in,
right? Looking
at a corner of a wall and a door, and then a little bit of the living room. Like, they're just different types of shots.
But nothing, like, super memorable.
Yeah, it's not like 1917 where you got these dudes doing one continuous shot forever where they're passing off cameras to other actors.
Same way in The Revenant.
Same thing, yeah. Like, The Revenant's opening shot, or with the Indians fighting, like, that's cinematography.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
That's awesome camera work.
I'd say a 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Once again, Quentin, you're better than us.
It's not terrible. Like, and I like the way a lot of his the way he sets up his shots, it's different. It's a different perspective too. So, like especially like my favorite shot from the film is probably when they're walking into the apartment building and then they go down and then they come back to the door. But it's nothing.
Yeah, something crazy.
It's nothing crazy. It's just different. So
I agree. I think a 6 is fine. So 6, 8. Next is acting.
It's an easy 10.
I agree. I think acting's a 10 as well. I mean, at the same time though, would you say? Yeah, no, it is, dude. They kill it, man. They kill it.
Samuel Jackson and John Travolta. I mean, all of them.
They all do a really good job. You're right. I'd give it a 10 as well. Super believable. Yeah. They all knock it out for sure. I mean, Samuel Jackson's probably the highlight of the movie for sure. Like he is, hands down, dude. He's so good. He's so funny, and dude, I love him. I love you, Samuel. We love you, dog. And then from there we move on to music, which once again it's like I don't know, give it like a 4. Like you're just using, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
they just use
just like Cool in the Gang and like
they just use good music.
Yeah.
There wasn't actual like
there's no themes.
No one composed anything.
At all, yeah.
Yeah.
So I give it like a 4.
Yeah.
So with that accumulation of scores, what is it at?
It's a 7.
A 7 out of 10. Refiner Reviews is giving Pulp Fiction, y'all. Pulp Fiction, a 7 out of 10. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, you fucking hipster motherfuckers. Hey, when I say things like that, you guys, I was thinking about this the other day. When I talk the way that I do on this podcast, I hope you all know that I love you all, okay? And when I'm saying fuck this, fuck that, fuck you, it's not literally that I'm telling you to go fuck off. It's like in a loving way, you know? Like, my fuck you is usually with some love. It's not anger. Right, Austie?
Yeah.
So when I say that, you guys, when I say fuck you, just know that I mean that with love. Yeah, and that includes you hipsters that watch this podcast or listen to it. I love you. You have your place. You have your movies like Pulp Fiction. I get it. You're sucking that fucking Tarantino dick. I get it. But yeah, sorry guys, 7 out of 10. I think that's honestly how I feel about it though. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, there's good stuff in there, but it's just
if I was to tell you,
it's pulp.
Okay, man, here we go. If I was to tell you, if someone went, hey, should I watch that movie? I'd probably go, you know what? Go watch The Revenant. I'd probably like, you know what?
Go watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Hold up, though. Hold up. If you ask me, should I watch Tenet or Pulp Fiction? I would tell you to watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
That shit's kind of crazy to think about. And Tenet got a better score.
It did. Well, it's because the rest of it
it's
executed,
solid.
Yeah. Where story it was like
okay, so
weak.
hold up. Okay. So out of all 12, we're on 12 now?
Yeah.
Out of all 12 movies that we've reviewed, you guys, the one I would tell you not to watch is Tenet. So Pulp Fiction, even though it scored lower than Tenet, I would tell you to go watch Pulp Fiction. But if you gave me out of all the movies we reviewed, Pulp Fiction is near the bottom of like what you should go watch. If you want to smoke a bowl and just chill, put Pulp Fiction on. But if you want to like, you know, if you're trying to do anything productive, don't watch Pulp Fiction. That's my take on it, man. Once again, it's not a bad movie. And who are we? Tarantino's Quentin Tarantino. He's a fucking legend, dude. The guy has skills. The guy
when this movie came out, it was a big deal.
It was. I mean, and here's the thing. I was like, well, people, it redefined the way that we tell stories. No. Even the guy that I read, Sid Field, who's the screenwriting guy, he says that. Like he's all about that fucking Pulp Fiction bust, dude. He's all on it. And it's like it was different. But and here's another question I'd ask you guys. Just because something's different, does that make it good? The fact that it's different by itself, does that make it good? You know what I mean? These guys actually won Best Original Screenplay. They won an Academy Award for this. Did they win anything else besides that?
No, they got nominated for a ton of stuff, and they won a bunch of other awards.
But they only won
Awards.
the screenplay.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I would give Tarantino some credit on that. Like for Best Original Screenplay, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part of me is like, we should just make a Tarantino style movie. Give me a whiteboard and I'll start, rambling off random shit and we'll tie it all together somehow. Yeah, man. Trying to think if there's any other thoughts I want to throw down on this movie before we sign off, because I know there's going to be a lot of hate. A lot of hate coming in our direction on this one.
Yeah, you just got to take the hate.
Dude, take it like Marcellus Wallace took it.
You could.
Well, you guys, anything else you want to add, bro?
Nah.
Hey, we appreciate all you guys who are listening to these consistently. Please subscribe and like, comment. Let us know what you think. We want to know. I mean, and we'll respond to you, man. Get on there in the comments on YouTube and let's know, and like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. And
leave us an honest review of us, too.
Yeah.
You have the chance to be a part of Refiner Reviews by reviewing.
Wow.
Refiner Reviews.
Deep, bro. Very deep.
And don't go easy on us. I want to see some 2 stars or a 1 star if we're that bad.
I don't want to see that. Actually, don't listen to him. Don't review us.
Only gives 5 stars.
But yeah, man. But once again, hey, Refiner Reviews is brought to you by Refiner Productions. We are a video and photo production company. We do weddings, commercials, all that good stuff, podcasts. And we appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. This is Cameron Smith.
This is Austin Smith. Thanks for listening.
Peace.
We love you.